So again, I have some examples for you so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm demonstrating. So for this demonstration, I am going to show you how to use the stipple technique on your portraiture project. So again, the objective is to make it look realistic using different value techniques. For this one, I am choosing stipple. You do not have to use stipple on yours, but this is one option. So I want you to watch the tutorial. So here is just a little example of doing stipple technique using for lips. So what I'm going to be demonstrating is this right here, except on my portrait. So I'm going to move over to the portrait that I have and kind of show you what areas I'm looking at. So I'm going to start kind of over in, you know what, I'll just start on Jolene's face right here. So what are the really dark areas? The dark areas are in her mouth and her eyes, and those are the easiest areas to start with. I am going to be using a nice set of pens. Would I have these available to you? Sure. If you are interested in doing this technique and really diving in deep with understanding how to do stipple, it is definitely helpful to have these Faber-Castell pens, and they all have a different circumference for the actual pen itself. I like to use an extra small for the most part, but when I'm doing a large area of stipple, I go with my largest one. So I have 4 different sizes here: extra small, small, medium, and then it says an F on there, but that's full. So those will be what I'm using. Could you just use a regular Papermate pen or Sharpie marker? Sure, but the thinner, the better. All right, so I'm going to start in her eyes, and especially as you're beginning your first stages of doing this, I want you to be able to start real small and go slow. Okay, so this does take quite a bit of time. It is not a quick process, but I want you to be able to get the idea. I'm going to turn this light off because I don't think that's helping you to be able to see. Okay, so in her picture, I'm looking really close up and trying to see exactly what parts are darker. And you really are going to have to almost like squint your eyes to be able to see it. It's not an easy technique to be able to do this stipple, but what's really helpful is paying attention to those areas that are darker and lighter. Her eyes are completely dark, but there are some little areas in there that are lighter, like right around this area here. And then there's a bit of a dark outline. I do think it is helpful to have a second picture printed, if possible, so that you're able to look at your original and not look at all of your pencil lines. So right now I am looking at all my pencil lines, and they're a little bit distracting and making it a little bit hard for me to see some of the areas in here where exactly is the dark area at. I know that she definitely has an outline to her eye. You can't see that from where you stand, but like I said, I had to kind of squint to get it up close. Okay, so I'm going real small here with my little dots that I'm making, my stipple. And I've made sure that I'm going in real lightly so that I'm not accidentally making a dark area. I do have ways I can go back and fix if I make a mistake, but the main thing that I wanted to be able to see is if there are any reflections in the eyes. I want to make sure that I show that. Okay, so I'm going to start with my little outlines here. And as I look at my picture, I can see different areas are lighter than others, just because you know that the pupil is darker isn't necessarily going to tell you exactly what your picture is going to look like. My picture shows a little bit of a highlight in this area here. So that area is going to really be just, the stipple is going to be a little bit farther apart. And that's how I'm going to show what I'm doing. And let me see if I can zoom in here. That's helpful. Okay, I'll zoom in a little bit more. I have my example here. That way you guys are able to see. Okay, so now around the whites of the eyes, her eyes are pretty dark in this picture. Let me bring this a little closer. Her eyes are pretty dark in this photo, and therefore the whites of the eyes are not actually going to look white itself. There's a lot of darkness in those areas, but the main areas where I see a lot of shadows are this area around the side where the eye goes. You're showing that the eyeball is round, okay? So there's more of a shadow in that area. In the picture, I can see, you know, just a little bit of details. I can't really see eyelashes per se, but I can see, you know, little shadows around there. And those shadows are probably showing her little eyelashes. But in the picture, I really can't see her eyelashes. So I want you guys to pay attention to things like that, because even though you know a person has eyelashes, you can't always see them. Now, if you can in your picture, you obviously want to draw it. But I'm focusing on showing what I see and not, you know, just what I know. And that's the biggest problem that people have. Now, for this particular demonstration, I'm not using any hatching. Some artists choose to do multiple styles. For me, I'm trying to just do stipple for this one. Okay, I'm not by any means done with this, but I tend to kind of jump around a little bit. One thing to know about eyebrows is that eyebrows are, the hairs on the eyebrows tend to go towards the side, okay? So I am kind of making little lines that show that. And it's really important to pay attention to what you see and not what you know. The biggest mistake I see students make with eyebrows is I see a bunch of scribbling up and down, kind of like I'm showing you with my pen. Don't do that. And now over here, her little eyebrow gets a little lighter, so I'm just pressing a little lighter there. And still doing a little bit of stipple around there. Okay, so I think you're starting to get the idea. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to jump over and show just a little bit of the technique for gradient value using a pencil. Now, I'm just going to spread my stipple out. I can always add more, but I cannot take away. And that's what's really tricky when using ink. If you accidentally start going in and do too much, it makes it really hard to fix. Okay. So I'm just going to spread that stipple out, and I'm trying not to press too hard. So if you're watching this technique right now and you're thinking to yourself, I don't think I can do this, that looks way too hard, let me just encourage you in this way. I want you to know that even though this is not an easy technique, the benefits of doing it in the end are just huge. So what I do is I turn on some good music and I kind of just get lost in my thoughts. It's really a good technique to do and one that I think you'll enjoy. So as you can see with my pen here, it makes it a little easier if you have a small pen. That small point sure makes a big difference. Do I have any of these for you? You bet. All you gotta do is ask, and you will receive. I can leave it up in the office for you. I can make it available. Just let me know how I can help you, and I'll hook you up with whatever you need. All right. So you can see kind of the basic start of what we're doing here. Now, I have not by any means finished this eye, but you're starting to see kind of how this works, okay? I do have paint pens in case there's a mistake made. Paint pens can sometimes bring back those whites. I think going in with a nice light stipple for your first run is really helpful, okay? So now you're starting to see a little bit of how to do the stipple, and I will continue the demonstration. I just think I'm going to jump over and show you a little bit on how I want you to do gradient and a little bit of hatching or cross hatching. All right, so stay tuned for that.